brief.
Well, thank you. Me and Larry appreciate you wanting to be here and being here. And you fire away at us. No weapons.
11 a.m. is early for a Q&A on a Sunday. I do agree. I always agree. All right, so basically I usually ask questions, but some of you have been waiting here for a while. So I'm assuming you're ready to go with your questions. Am I correct? Yeah, so who wants to go first? If you want to, you can just, you know what? We'll just throw your hand up and we'll go around, okay? I won't make everybody stand up. There's not that many of us. All right, sir, I saw your hand first. You go.
Okay, I asked the other day, but I'm going to ask Larry as well. How would you feel about a CHiPs reboot and how
I can't take your mask off.
Well, a CHiPs reboot. How do you feel
A
about
CHiPS reboot?
Yeah, they kind of already did that.
Well, they kind of screwed that one up. I don't think a show like ours today would be watched much because population has been visually desensitized, and if you see something, everything has to be sensationalistic visually. It seems like all the shows and things that are being done, and they would. First of all, we couldn't do it in California because we don't have any empty freeways anymore. It's so packed. It's so packed. It would be great because it'd be nice to be able to park your kid in front of the tube for an hour and not have to worry about what they're going to see, what they're going to hear. And I don't think so, right?
Well, I think it could be done, but I think it has to be, there's some tweaks. I'm working on a project right now that would do that, by the way. But and if I would bring my partner and
It's me.
and exploit the hell out of him, right? It'd be great. I think the show today, it couldn't be back in the 70s and 80s with the what would be construed as dorkiness, today. So it have to be some different themes and different plot lines. But the important thing would be the chemistry between John and Ponch and then younger guys, I think. And if you took that chemistry and really, when I look at the old show, which I don't very often, although I saw it on a rerun a while ago and called my wife in and I said, hey, you want to look at the hunk here, She always teases me, you're taking too much blood out of that turnip. But anyway, the bottom line is I think that chemistry could be exploited and could be interesting, and also great public relations for probably one of the most important things is the police departments in the United States, because they're under such an assault. And God bless my partner, he's a policeman, so.
yeah.
Do you want to talk about your police work for a second?
Oh, well, it's a long story.
Well, that's what they're here for, right? It's a really good long story. Somebody's been investigating some crimes that needed to be investigated. You want to talk about it?
Well, my first career choice was to be a New York City police officer. Because when I was 4, my mother fired my dad because he was stuck on the needle. We lived up in Spanish Harlem, and she started dating a New York cop. And I loved the man. The guy was wonderful. He worked CSI, he used to go through his books. He was a detective, he'd take pictures of the crime scenes. And for me, it was very exciting to see knives sticking out of heads and eyeballs hanging, cutthroats as a kid. The stuff the kids are watching today on TV. She started dating a cop, and he was wonderful. He was with us for 9 years, and so I wanted to be a cop. First man I ever loved was a cop, so he was my hero. I wanted to be a cop, and that was it. I was going to be a cop, and I was going to get my mother out of the projects and so forth. But at 17, my last year of high school, there was a girl named Christine Laporte. Pretty girl, really fine. And I wanted to meet her. And so I figured I'd wait for her to come out of the building, walk into the bus, the train, wherever. She never come out of the building. I said, what's she doing? So I decided to follow her. She was going to drama club. I said, grew up in the streets of Harlem. I can act. You know, just get in there, learn the lines, and do your thing. Well, I got in, and I got accepted, and then I got bit by the acting bug. There is a bug that bites you. So I'll get to the cop thing.
No.
So,
They're literally here to hear both of you, not
yeah, okay. So, well, you're not going to hear Larry if I keep talking. I went ahead and told my mother, Mom, you got to live in the projects a little longer. I want to chase this acting thing. I like it. I really dig it. I want to do it. I love it. Ay, mijo, no, por favor, please, no. And I say, yeah, Mom, I'm going to give it a shot. And I told my mother, hey, if nothing happens by the age of 30, I can come back, go to Albany, cutoff date for going to the academy in New York was 32, and you'd be my roommate. But I wanted to get her in a position where she was living well, really well, and I wanted to be the one that did it as her son. Anyway, at 27, I got lucky. After so many years of this role and that role and that role and this role, I got CHiPs. And so, when we finished CHiPs, it was the year 83. I couldn't go to New York and become a cop. So I kept going on in the business and stuff and doing my thing. And then at 54, Shaquille O'Neal told me about well, first of all, I went to Muncie, Indiana, and became a reserve for 3 years. And it was nasty police work. At night, because I couldn't work during the day, because there'd be people that go on a call, go on a disturbance or domestic, anything. People would be around my car when I got out. Hey, Ponch, how about a picture? I said, dude, I'm carrying a taser and a real gun and mace. Get away from me. Anyway, so I opted for graveyard shift. And that was even worse. Because I knew somebody was going to mess up my hair real bad at 2, 3, or 4, or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was not going to appreciate that, especially doing the bar routes. So I talked to Shaquille O'Neal, who's a deputy sheriff in Miami now, but he was before that at Bedford County Sheriff's Department in Virginia. It's between Lynchburg and Roanoke. And he said, there's a sheriff there, Mike Brown, who needs some help. He wants to make videos, CDs, to hand out to schools so the city or the parents don't have to pay for internet education, safety education, because kids weren't being taught what not to do on the internet. And they're getting groomed, and they're getting taken, and they're getting had, and they're getting destroyed. When a child's innocence is taken, they never get it back at that age, and usually they're young. So I said, well, I'll call him and see what I can do. Of course, I called him, and I can't do the accent, but he's from the Appalachian Mountains.
We're familiar.
So I said, sir, my name is Erik Estrada. I'm a reserve police officer in the state of Indiana. And Shaquille O'Neal gave me your phone number. I understand you're looking for some help to do some public service announcements for your foundation, which is called Safe Surfing. IN, not ING, Safe Surfing, surfing the web. And I like to lend my celebrity, and I can do it in Spanish and English for you. And he said, whoa, wait a minute, son. Is you that fella with the teeth on that motorcycle with the tight uniform? Yeah, I think Shaq set me up. I said, well, yes, sir, I am. And he goes, wait a minute. Janet, come here. I got old Poncherelli here on the phone. Come here. That's his wife, who's a professor at Lynchburg University. And so I came out. He says, I said, where are you located, sir? And he says, well, we're in Lynchburg. Oh. I said, Lynchburg, never heard of it. So I said, well, what if I come out tomorrow? He says, well, let me know. Call me back, let me know, and I'll pick you up at the airport. Well, I had my wife get my arrangements, travel arrangements. I had to take 2 planes to get there, just like here.
We're familiar.
Yeah, 2 planes to get here. So I came out. We knocked out a bunch of PSAs over at, we used Lynchburg University, Four Wells University, They got a theatrical department, unbelievable. And we made some public service announcements. And there was a young girl there, 23 years old, who had been taken off the internet when she was about 12, 13 years old, you know, got groomed, because these guys will take months to groom a child on the internet. And so she did testimonial. And then I was going to leave the next day, go back to California. And then he said, you know, don't leave tomorrow, not right away. I want to take you somewhere. I said, oh, okay. So he picked me up at the Marriott in the morning, got in the car, and we went we went up into this place that looked like the Waltons lived in it. A cabin and all that, huge, in the woods. Then he opened the door, I walked in, and there were like 16 to 18 young men and women in uniform, some of them deputy sheriffs, some of them U.S. Deputy marshals, and they were all in front of these big screens in chat rooms, doing their thing. I said, whoa, that's pretty cool, you know, all these words. I had nothing, I wasn't savvy. I remember when Larry was getting into the internet, I wanted to go to the disco, you know? I wasn't savvy at all. And one of the guys, Mark Harmon, who is the head of Mike Brown's task force, ICAC task force, is ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children, that's what it means. And I didn't like him very well. Anyway, after 8 years working with him, I didn't like him anyway. So he says, come here, sit down. So he sits me down, and he goes on the keyboard, and these numbers come up, bunch of numbers. He says, what's that? I said, I don't know. I don't know this technology. And he goes, okay, come here, click the key. Just click the key. I said, okay. Then all of a sudden, all these IPOs keep coming up like that. A whole bunch of them on the screen, and then a whole set, another set. He says, you see that? I said, yeah. He says, we just logged on, and we got 457 hits of people that want to share 4-year-old child pornography with us. I said, oh. You got real quiet, like you just did. Because I had a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, my daughter, Francesca. Okay? And I said, oh, okay. He says, come on, hit one of those IP. I said, no. I just came out to help the sheriff do, to do public service announcement, help him out with his foundation and raise money and yada, yada, yada. And he said, pick one. I said, I'm really not here for that. And he said, and I went to get up, and he said, sit down. And I looked at his badge, and a deputy U.S. Marshal. So you respect the badge. You don't like the person, you still got to respect the badge. So I sat down, and I said, I'm not going to pick one, you have to pick it. And he did. I get stuck there every time.
It's okay, take your time. Do you want to come back to it, or you're just going to skip over it?
No, let me get over it. Okay. Every time I talk about it, I get stuck.
It's okay.
Picture comes up with a young little girl, pretty little girl in a white lace dress with a black sash, and she's doing this like little girls do. And then all of a sudden it cut, and she looked like my kid. Okay? That was a tough one. Then there's a cut, and there's 2 animals having their way, okay? So I got up, I got really upset, just like this, and I went outside, beat up a bunch of squirrels and stuff. Got real pissed off, real angry. And then after you get emotional about it, you get angry. If you don't, then that means, you should go home. And I got really, really angry, so then I just went back in, and with anger and everything, I said to the sheriff, if I left Muncie, Indiana, could I do this work? he says, well, you give me a year, son, I'll train you. We're gonna check with it, see how's your record over there in Muncie. And so I've been at it ever since. That's what I do. Just jump out and say, yeah, I'm an ICAC investigator, I work in internet crimes against children. A lot of people won't be able to relate to that, really. So I set up to tell you the story. You should know why certain law enforcement personnel jump into this. Because not all of us have the stomach for it. If you get angry, then you got the stomach for it. You know? Anyway, no more.
Thank you for sharing. I want to skip over to Larry because,
Please.
well, that's okay. Because I find it fascinating of how you transitioned from being a Marine, right, into acting. Can you talk about that a little bit? And then we'll go right back to that.
First, I got to tell my daddy. He's a Marine. Thank God he was a Marine. He saved my life when I had my wreck. I was on the ground, both lungs collapsed, all broken up. He saved my life. Kept me alive till the helicopter came and got me.
First of all, that was a great story. That's the first time I've heard that story, and you know, I could cry real easily listening to it. So it says a lot about the empathy that we should have for moms. I have a special place in my heart for moms, and his mom.
We only get one.
Yep, and the trauma, the tragedy that human beings put themselves in some cases, or subjected to. But God bless them, and sorry. Marines, real quickly, I won't bore you with my indulgent stories, but my older brother was in the Marine Corps, and in high school I was a hick in Wyoming. You know, we did all the hick things that you do, fight, drink, and play sports, right?
We're familiar with Hicks.
That's a running theme.
And so, you know, I was a cowboy and rodeoed and did all kinds of wild stuff and liked to push the envelope. So I thought the Marine Corps was the best service to be in, and so I joined the Marine Corps. And after the first day of boot camp, I'm like, what in the hell am I doing here? You know? But boot camp in the Marine Corps is very, very difficult, unlike other branches of service, excuse me. And I know you're all special if you're a veteran of other services, but the Marine Corps does some abusive stuff, and physically abusive and emotionally abusive all the time, hitting you in the neck and the trachea, and hitting you in the ear, hitting on the back of the head, and making you swim in mud and tell you what a puke you are, and you shouldn't have joined the Marine Corps because your mother's ashamed of you, and on and on and on. They're just trying to break you down, you know, to make sure that you can survive. And then the next thing I knew, they said, my brother told me, whatever you do in the Marine Corps, don't be above the radar. You don't want to be any movie star. You want to be under the radar, or you're going to get beat. And I said, okay. And he says, and the second thing you want, there's 3 things you want to do. The second thing you want to do is take every test. Every single test they offer, take it. And I said, okay. And by that time, I'd had 2 years of college, but I hadn't graduated yet. And he said, the third thing is I'm going to show you how to fight, because they're going to teach you hand-to-hand in the pugo stick fighting, right? He says, they'll show you all this neat stuff where you go to the stomach and hit in the jaw and do some real, he says, there's one thing you need to do, and that's a jab as hard as you can. You'll win every fight, right? So I won every fight because of my brother, not because of me. And I took every test, and they said, you're going to go to language school because you speak French, and so you're going to go to language school. You're going to be the only Marine with the Army up at Fort Ord in Northern California. That's cool. That's what I can't wait. I'm going to Fort Ord, right? And then all my buddies, I was waving goodbye, and they were going to jungle training to go to Vietnam. And I'm waving to Wilcox, come here. Yes, sir. We lost your orders, but we'll find them tomorrow. So jump on the jungle training thing, and we'll get them, you know, next week or something. Dude, I don't want to go to jungle training. Yeah, you have to go. I was okay. So I went to jungle training. Next thing I know, they say you can go to OCS school, Officer Candidate School. And I said, oh, that sounds good. I'd like to go to OCS. And they said, just sign this paper and you'll be off and running. We'll send you to Quantico, Virginia. You'll become an officer in the Marine Corps. I said, well, what is that paper? I didn't know. I was such a hick. What does this paper mean? It means you spend 6 more years in the Marine Corps. Nope, I'm out of here. I'm not signing that baby. They said, okay. Next thing I knew, I landed in Da Nang, Vietnam. And they said, I heard my name on the speaker and I'm reading Life magazine. On the front of Life magazine were all the Marines with bandages and blood and everything everywhere. And they're up on the DMZ in a place called Con Tien, right on the DMZ. Wilcox, 2331-876, Con Tien. Oh, shit. So there I did. I landed in Vietnam, spent 13 months there with 12 Marines, a bunch of great men, you know, young men. I always say to Eric and other people is that mankind has a lot of ways of hiding its personality. And, you know, the great point about Vietnam for me was that when a man's raw and about to die, you see really who he is. And it's that person that you hope that you can have as your associate, your affiliate, as the Marine Corps says, Semper Fi, always faithful, that's always there with you. And I gave a speech once for the police department in the Bay Area of the beaches in Los Angeles. And I had to talk about loyalty and trust and so on. And like Eric's story, I broke down sobbing. I won't get into the story so I don't ruin you with my indulgent sobbing, but it was uncontrollable sobbing. And then I realized that, you know, there's a lot more to my sobbing than I wanted to address. And then later I gave speeches at cemeteries for soldiers, and same thing happened. They play the taps and I start crying, you know. So, this wasn't supposed to be this kind of speech, but we got transition.
Yeah.
And so coming back to chips and
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Thanks for making us cry.
Yeah.
Your fault.
I just realized that, you know, we're all here for a certain period of time, and thank you. And it's really important that we take care of each other and that we show love and respect. And as Jesus said, faith, hope, and love's the most important. And I think that everything's been, you know, really good to me. And I've had a great friend here. We went through, by the way, highs and lows.
Yeah.
But we love each other and we respect each other. And we will fight for each other, and we will always be faithful for each other. And that's what mankind needs to do. And so I've been blessed in my life. You know, at my age, I'm very, very grateful and humbled. I'm not impressed with being an actor. It was a job that I went from Lassie to Chips, and I produced a series called The Ray Bradbury Theater for 5 years on HBO, and you know, a bunch of other stuff, and I won't bore you with all my credits. But you know, when you chase merit badges in life and you have them hanging on your chest or your forehead, depending on what kind of person you are, you start to realize that merit badges is, you know, I always say my money, God gave me that money, and that money's God's money, not mine. And this friendship is what he wants me to do, and friendship with people like yourself and respect. So I'll end this with saying thank you very much, and thanks for coming here today, and God bless the police force.
All right, thank you. Wasn't that cool? Yeah. Who's got the next question? Yes, sir.
Boy, it's been a long time. First, I want to say you two influenced my life greatly. The 4 years that I got to spend with you. I don't know if you remember me or not, but I have 2 questions that may spark your memory. John, do you remember taking a 10-year-old boy on your motorcycle to his school to sign autographs and meet his class? And Eric, I hope you're still not mad at me for giving out your home phone number. I know it's been 41 years.
Yeah.
My mom was a caterer.
Oh,
I was
wow.
a little boy that ran around. Huh?
She was a kid when
Yeah, yeah, great.
I want to say that my whole life, I've tried to, you guys are always in my memory, and I just want to thank you for everything that you guys did for me when I was little, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And since you gave me all my extra parts, this new gig you got coming up, if you need somebody on screen.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for coming, by the way, and God bless your mom.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Who's got it? You guys got really quiet.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I rewatched your show all the time growing up, but sacrifice for the Marine, you know what the phrase for the moms of Marines are?
Oh, yeah.
Semper Gumby.
Semper what?
Gumby, like Gumby and Pokey, always flexible.
Yeah, great,
So, I'm a
great.
Semper Gumby.
Okay,
Your service.
great, thank you.
Well, let's go ahead.
I wouldn't want to be a woman. Well, I say that because you guys are tougher than us. You guys give birth. We can't pass, what they call those things, stones?
Kidneys.
Kidney stones. No.
Just did that.
Well, let's make it a little lighthearted. Eric, tell me about C-Lab. And don't worry, I've got one for you when we're done with this.
C-Lab.
You've got to talk about C-Lab.
Well, C-Lab, oh, yes. C-Lab. It was on Adult Swim. We did it for 3 years. I never met any of the cast members. I did it in a studio in Los Angeles. Did it in a studio in Los Angeles, and the rest of the people who lived all over the country, the producer and director would call the studio from Atlanta, and then he'd tell me, okay, we're going to do these 4 episodes right now. I want you to say each line 3 different ways. Give me 3 different readings of the line, and then 1 improv. And that's what I would do, and that's how I recorded the series. But I never met any of the other actors I was working with. It's a cartoon, and it became a cult. And it ended because the lead performer passed, he passed. And it was a great, fun thing out of nowhere. It was great. I never had to shave or even bathe. I was just in the booth, and da-da-da-da-da-da. It was great. So, it was fun. A lot of the young people like it. I get people coming over to my booth and say, you got anything from C-Lab? Well, yeah, I got a cartoon, because he was a cartoon character. But he was crazy. He would make love to sharks and things. Lived in a submarine.
For you folks who've only known him for chips, check it out.
No, you don't check it out.
I've been with you all week. Yeah. You both worked with somebody that I never met, because you worked in The Night Stalker, which is a Dan Curtis show.
Right.
And you were directed by Dan Curtis, right?
Wow.
He has, did you know this? Did you both? So there are, for any of you know, The Night Stalker, Dan Curtis, Trilogy of Terror for some of you people. He was just a slightly famous, slightly infamous 70s producer, director. Do you have a great story about working with him? I try to find things that other people won't ask.
No, they don't want to know that. They want to know about our love life.
They can ask it.
Dan Curtis, I did a movie called The Last Ride of the Dalton Gang. I'll tell you a real quick story, so I'm not hogging it.
No, we've got time.
And I played Emmett Dalton, and starred in it with Randy Quaid and some other actors, Cliff Potts, and some other famous old actors, Jack Palance and so on. And anyway, read for it multiple times, and finally you get the part, and you pound your chest, and you're happy you got the job, and you think that's indicative of talent, and it's not necessarily. But I got the job, played this cowboy murdering and robbing people and so on, and then I go from like 20 years old in the movie to 80 years old in the movie. And but actually I go from 10 years old to 80, and so at 10, you can't do that, right? So I had my son come and play Emmett Dalton as a little boy, and that was kind of fun. That you know, you get to have a little nepotism and take care of your own son, Derek. So and then later when we got done filming with Dan Curtis, I'm this old man with all this makeup on and stuff, and I put a mustache on my son. So he walks in as a 10-year-old onto the airplane with me with this mustache, and people were kind of looking at him like, what's the deal here? You know, what's this kid? But Dan Curtis was a great director. He liked to fill the frame, as they say, as he would shoot a shot with filling lots of stuff within the frame, and he was very good in camera direction. I won't bore you with all the technologies, but when you cross the line and you're moving left to right, now you're moving right to left, and it doesn't edit together when you put the film together, and he was a master at that. So he would confuse everyone with his mastery and his virtuosity in terms of using the camera, and they've written a couple books about him recently that have come out that are for students and people that want to study filmmaking. But he was a great director. I don't have any other crazy stories. We took our roping horses there and rodeoed on the weekend and filmed them during the week, so it was great.
Sounds fun, yeah. All right, who's got the next question? Yes, sir.
What was your favorite episode of CHiPs?
Favorite episode of CHiPs?
There was several. I like the one we did with Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, because the girl that Ponch was possibly going to marry, they never wanted Ponch to, they always wanted him free for the girls. That's the way the producers all think, you can't lock him up. But Ponch had fought. The episode was called Head Over Heels, and it had to do with a drunk driver. A drunk driver took her out while we were at a park as she walked across and a car hit her. And I remember that. It was so great. And I remember the organization, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, were like all over me and happy that we did it. We were doing an episode about their cause, because a lot of them lost a lot of children, loved ones to, drunk driving. That was a good one. But I got a ton of them that I liked, especially the ones I didn't like, but then I ended up liking, were the ones that they told him they wanted him to do. They wanted him to sing. They wanted him to do square dancing. And he said, okay, 2-3 days before the episode, before the day comes to do it, he said, no, I'm not doing it. Let Ponch do it. So I got to sing and dance because of him. on the series, stuff like that.
Favorite probably were not those singing and dancing episodes. That's for sure.
Thanks.
I like Ponch Singing Celebration. I think that's a classic, That is definitely a classic. I'm glad it wasn't me. And then I directed 2 of the highest rated shows in CHiPs, and I like those indulgently because, I look at them now and they're just okay, but I thought they were really good at the time, and my camera angles and all that crap.
No, in one day, he got 57 setups.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's really moving the camera fast so you can put a lot of, like we would shoot 10 to 13 pages a day, which is unheard of today. And, they shoot 4 or 5 pages a day, and that changes your budget considerably. But just to answer one more point on your question about favorite episodes, I've told you Tow Truck Lady, and then one about motocross where Ponch and I were in it. Mate Team was a really good episode, written well. But what was really fun on CHiPs, notwithstanding the fact that our chemistry was fun and play off each other and make fun of each other and joke about each other, the 2 buddy kind of things. But the stunts were phenomenal on that show. And the reason they were phenomenal was they weren't using CGI or technology to cheat stunts. I mean, like,
real.
The stunt men, the stuff they did, they hit pedestrians with their car at like 20, 30 miles an hour. I said, what? You're going to hit the guy? And he'd flip up and hit the windshield and break the windshield with his head. No helmet, nothing, I mean, I did a Western once, The Last Hard Men with James Coburn and Charlton Heston. And the stuntman, the Andy McLaughlin was the director, who I really liked, big 6'5" guy that used to walk around and, excuse my language, ladies would step on your foot and then he would fart. It's like, Andy, come on, you can't get out of here, right? And I thought I was the hick, right? But they had guys stunt guys roll in between a moving train going about 30, 40 miles an hour. And the stunt coordinator go, on 1, 2, 3, go, 1, 2, 3, go. And each guy would have to roll under the train. And if he missed, he'd amputate his limbs. It's like, why? And then they would get underneath the car and grab a hold of the car and pull themselves up until the train stopped down the track. Well, Brubaker, this one guy, this stunt guy named Brubaker, he didn't pull himself up and was flopping on the railroad ties, tore his whole butt off. So the stuntmen that did CHiPs, they were special guys. And that's what's sometimes fun to watch is, yeah, there were ramps behind the cars as they pulled them, and the cars would always get airborne on a freeway, and if you look at the freeway, the traffic's all going one way, and there's no traffic on the other side of the freeway. What's going on here? You know, but it was still fun. It was a lot of fun.
All right, we got time for 2 or 3 more questions. Where we got? Yes, ma'am.
Being such stars in your own right, who is the performer in your acting career that left you starstruck, that you've worked with in any project?
Well, I always like to say there are 2 levels of the actor that you respect. Sometimes I say, I don't really want to know the actor because I have a perspective of him now and I want to leave it alone. When I meet him, sometimes I don't like him anymore. I won't get into that, right?
Oh, that's one you should get into.
But you know, I've worked with, you know, Lee Marvin and James Coburn, Charlton Heston, a lot of really great actors. I won't go through the list. Erik Estrada, and but you know, I think the guy that I thought was the most talented and somewhat unique was a guy that never made it, and everyone knew him in L.A. I mean, he's a really talented actor, very James Dean-y like, and guy that I never worked with that I always liked the best were James Dean and Marlon Brando, but James Dean isn't here, so who did you work with? Michael Parks. Michael Parks was a great actor, and you know, I always would take a script. What actors do is they take a script, they give you a character, and very often the character isn't written very well. It's kind of like John Baker, just a boring guy, you know, straight guy. And so you have to create a character, and if you start acting on CHiPs, you'd screw it up. You wanted to just kind of be yourself, right? So when you get a role, sometimes I would, you know, shave his head and make him Donnie Dork and Dirty Dozen. I had a hard time talking, let alone throwing an invisible baseball. All that stuff I made up and created a Bible about the characters. But Michael Parks, when I would read the scripts of different characters, I'd say, oh, this is kind of a boring character. Michael Parks took this role for sheriff, you know. He would turn it into a mecca. I mean, it was like, wow. He interpreted that and changed all this character and did all these nuances. And I would go to dailies. Dailies are when you watch the reruns of the filming the night before, the day before, and literally be mesmerized with that guy's talent. Unfortunately, he liked the alcohol, and it got the best of him.
If you all don't know Michael Parks, from Dusk Till Dawn, the sheriff or the cop at the beginning, he gives a great line and then gets shot by Tarantino. He's a fantastic character actor. Check it out.
What?
Your favorite actor?
Yeah, I mean, you were Midway.
Well, you know what? I was the new kid on the block. I was like the street urchin. Well, okay, let me take it back. I came out from New York, chasing it, looking for it. 9 years before I got a steady job on a show called CHiPs, which was great. But I got to I was an actor before I was a celebrity. Okay? What I mean by that is that I started in movies. My first one was a Christian movie called The Cross and the Switchblade with Pat Boone, directed by Don Murray. The second movie was The New Centurions with George C. Scott. That was the year he turned down the Oscar for Patton, and I played a rookie Chicano cop in that. And then a Hawaii 5-0 where I got to elope with Chin Ho's daughter, and I shot the priest. And then I moved to California because I needed a steady paycheck so I could get my mother out of the projects. That was my whole thing. Acting is my second choice. Cop was my first career choice, but acting is the second choice. So I got to be in a movie called Airport 75, where I worked with, they had a plethora of old timers in there. Gloria Swanson. I'm in Salt Lake City, and we're going up the escalator, and I'm looking at this woman's legs in front of me, and they were kind of big and hefty, and I said, whoa. And then I look up, and I go, that's Gloria Swanson. And then Charlton Heston, Roy Finnis, Karen Black, all the old school. And then I did a movie called Midway with Heston again, and Glenn Ford, Henry Fonda, Robert Mitchum. I got to hang out and with all the old timers that are gone, you know. So, but they would look at me, and they would. I remember one time we had a variety thing on Channel 4 Variety Evening. I'm at we had a big round table. You got Burt Reynolds and his girl, Julio Iglesias, it's a pretty girl, and Ricardo Montalban and his wife, me and my squeeze, my friend. Okay. And then next to me was a guy that I just adored. And it was Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland. And like Larry was talking about, you know, some people you meet, you don't want to meet, that you watch, you don't want to meet. Well, I was just like, he's right here next to me all. And, you know, and another table over there, you had all the other NBC stars. Then you had Dean Martin, Sinatra, and Sammy Davis at another table, and Don Rickles, and another table. It was a big filmed event. And so, you know, we all had dinner, and everybody did that nice, and finished dessert. And I have a guy who's a buddy of mine. His name is Don. He's a roofer, you know. He's a roofer. But he looks like he could be his brother, Charles Bronson's brother. So I did something that I don't do. You know, the only other autograph that I asked for was from Cesar Romero, because I was an arrogant tennis player, and he was playing my manager in the medical center with a guy, the actor, Chad Everett. I guessed it on every cop show in the 70s before I got chips. Almost didn't get chips because NBC didn't want me. They said, no, we seen this kid shoot a priest in Hawaii 5-0. He burned a building in Kojak. He was a heroin addict in Mannix. They gave me all the stereotypical, back then they typicalized you, new word, typicalized you. And, you know, and I was always the Latino with the gun, the knife, the break, the pimp, the bat, bottom. So I decide I want to get an autograph for Don, the roofer buddy that I got. So I turned to Charles Bronson. I said, Mr. Bronson, can I get an autograph for a friend of mine? He looks like he could be a twin. His name is Don. The vibe that came off this guy, I like went like this, and I could see myself just go and jumping off my chair and running. That's what he made me feel like. And too bad it's red. So that's why I never say no to anybody, because I don't want anybody that would feel that. So that's my experience with actors.
And that is where we're going to end. I am so sorry. They're going to be at the table the rest of the day. Please, Lexington, thank you so much. Give a big shout out to Erik Estrada and Larry Wilcox. Thank you.
Before I leave, I'm going to do a couple of songs on my latest album. Yes, sir. You don't want to read that. Oh, God.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.